Shopify or Etsy for your print-on-demand store in 2024? That's the question we're going to be breaking down in this video today. And if you've watched my channel, you would likely know that I'm probably a little bit biased here. I do prefer Shopify. That's where I started my first store in 2016. Back then, you really couldn't even do print-on-demand on Etsy in an easy way. And I've just used Shopify ever since. And recently, I was invited to Printify headquarters to attend their Amplified event. It was the first ever live print-on-demand conference. While I was there, I discussed this subject a little bit.
The original POD ninja himself, and of course the Shopify guru, Joe Robert.
And before we jump into some of the main reasons I would recommend Shopify over Etsy, I want to address the elephant in the room. If you've been paying attention recently, there's been a lot of issues with people selling print-on-demand items on Etsy. As I'm making this video, it is the middle of October in 2023, and it seems like over the last few weeks there has been an intentional attack on print-on-demand sellers from Etsy, leading to a lot of people questioning the long-term viability of the print-on-demand business model on Etsy. If you're a member of any print-on-demand Facebook groups, it's likely you've seen lots of posts, like some of these ones I'm putting on the screen right now, where people are having their Etsy listings deactivated or even in some cases having their entire shops closed down. I'm not saying I really have any opinion on this or even have any idea on how this is going to play out, but in order to really understand this, I think you have to really understand how we even got to this place in the first place. Back in 2005, Etsy was started as a way for people to sell handcrafted goods online. And by 2007, they had almost 500,000 sellers generating millions of dollars a year in sales. And in 2010, they grew to 7 million registered users and really began to outpace eBay as a better platform to sell goods online. Shortly after, though, they began to have criticisms being made of them, where there was lots of resellers on the platform selling products that were not handmade. Nowadays, we would call these types of shops resellers or dropshippers or something like that. There were tons of articles written like this about different stores in 2015 and in the years to come as well about stores that were doing amazing on Etsy, but they weren't selling handcrafted goods. Some of them even closed down because there was a huge outcry from other Etsy sellers to remove them from the platform. There's also been dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of posts just like this made on places like Reddit or even in the Etsy forums themselves. Last year, Etsy even released this report here where they detailed how they've removed tons of listings. It says they removed 1.9 million listings in 2022, which was a 16% increase from 2021. As you continue to read through, the same story is consistent. I will put a link to that report in the pinned comment of this post as well if you wanted to take a look. My point here is this is starting to come to a turning point. We are beginning to see tons of people having their shops shut down, listings removed, and a lot of doubt has been put in the air about what's going to happen to print on demand and Etsy. Obviously, I don't know how this is going to play out, and obviously we don't even really have all the answers right now. All we can really speculate about is why this is happening, but I do think that there is reason to be concerned about the long-term viability of running a print-on-demand shop on a platform like Etsy, or any platform for that matter. Sometimes I think building your business on a platform is sometimes going to be a risk that you take because you're now at the mercy of that platform. And that's really my first reason to use Shopify over Etsy for your print-on-demand store in 2024. With so much doubt in the air, the worst thing ever would be if you put 6 or 8 months into your print-on-demand store only to have some sort of issue bring it to a screeching halt. And if you're just getting started and you want some help with your print-on-demand store, make sure to check out my course. It's completely free. There's a link down in the description and it will help you build a Shopify print-on-demand store.
Uploading 200 designs to Etsy, like for example, as a marketplace was a great strategy, then we would all still spend our time doing the same thing with places like Redbubble or Teespring and Cafe Press and, all these other platforms that have existed over the years. And, no shade to them or anything, but they're not here anymore. If we were, doing Amplified 4 years ago, whoever was sitting there would be from a different platform. And someone over here would be arguing about brands. This is a timeless strategy. The year 2019, there was less than 2 million Etsy shops. That number's over 6 million now.
And if you're watching this video, you know that it's no secret that print on demand is growing. I remember being one of the few people actually making videos about it back in 2018 when I started creating content. And now there's dozens of awesome creators out there that are sharing their experience and their story with their print-on-demand store. But the problem is exactly what I said on stage at Printify. There are just so many sellers out there going on Etsy and listing a lot of these same items. It's becoming incredibly difficult to stand out. My point I was trying to make on stage is that in a year or 2 years, will it even be possible to run an Etsy print-on-demand store, or will there just be too much competition on the site? Here's a post from inside a print-on-demand group. Basically, someone talking about exactly what I'm saying right now. It says that they've seen the influx of thousands of new shops that have started in the last year alone. They then wrote that even they admit that it's just a whole bunch of stores that are just trying to outcompete one another. They're basically all doing the same thing on their stores, trying to compete with thousands and thousands of other stores. That is why when you start looking at videos on YouTube about Etsy, a lot of the content you're seeing is people recommending to you how to find unsaturated and low competition niches, because everything that is great is already way too saturated, which kind of leads me to my next point about what I'm trying to talk about today, is that with an Etsy shop, really the majority of your success is going to come from your ability to create lots and lots of designs, so that way you can actually be relevant in search results. You almost need to throw out as much stuff as possible so that way you can get the most penetration of the site and get the most people seeing your listings.
Long term, you're going to have assets. That time's going to give you an ROI. If you put 6 months of time into an Etsy shop or a Redbubble shop or whatever it is, you're after 6 months going to have a marketplace shop. 6 months of a brand, you're going to have an asset. That's a website, that's an email list, that's a social media page with followers that ultimately could be sold. I have sold print-on-demand stores in the past. I'm not saying everybody here has to do that, but you have an asset, and that is something that I think is a tremendous value for the brand-based side.
Another reason I prefer Shopify over Etsy is that with a Shopify site, I own it and I'm building my own brand rather than building Etsy's brand. Obviously, if you're building your own website on Shopify, that's an asset for you. Same thing if you're building a follower base on a social media account. That is an asset for you. You also will have a customer email list, which is also an asset. You'll basically have yourself a brand. Your store, your social media following, your email list, all together is your brand. And you own that, and that's worth something. Say that you were doing print on demand for 3 years and you had great designs, meaning you were actually able to create things that people want to buy. If you put 3 years into an Etsy shop versus a Shopify site and social media, and you had products that people wanted to buy at the end of the 3 years, if you were on Shopify building your own site, using social media, growing a follower base, you would have an incredibly valuable asset. If you were running an Etsy store, you would have an Etsy shop that has made lots of sales, but that's not really an asset. You can't do anything with that. If you have a brand, which includes your site, your follower base, and email list, that's an asset that you could actually sell. It's worth something.
I think it has a lot to do with strategy. I think if you're going to be someone that's going into a marketplace arena, you're going to be spending your time creating tons of designs. You're going to likely sell them across lots of different niches. I think you're going to likely be creating different things for holidays. Ultimately, you're going to be trying to do as much as possible just to make as many sales at the same time. You're going to constantly reinvent yourself. What I would much rather do is build a brand. Choose a niche, build a store for it, create a space where people in that niche can sort of hang out on social media and ultimately create a great product for them and scale it on social media.
And another thing to consider, speaking about social media and gaining followers, is that with your own site on a place like Shopify, it is very easy to convert people from social media to your store in terms of making them a customer or just a follower of your brand.
On social media, at this point, there's 2 billion people that use Facebook on a daily basis. There's 500 million people that use Instagram on a daily basis and 400 million people that use Pinterest on a daily basis. And according to Forbes, in that same study, they said that over 80% of people responded and admitted to buying something on social media in the past. There are your built-in buyers.
Basically, the point I was trying to make was that selling on social media is not only something that is not as hard as you might think, but it's also something that is necessary for a print-on-demand business in the year 2024 and beyond. If you're looking for built-in buyers, as some would say exist on Etsy, those are found on social media. People like to buy things online. People like to impulse purchase print-on-demand items that have designs on them for niches that they love. Selling on social media with a print-on-demand store is something that you must take advantage of. I've tried my best to create lots of content here on my channel for the last 4 years talking about it, but some of you still haven't gotten started. started. Like I said earlier, if you want to check out my print on demand course, it's called Print on Demand for Dummies. It's completely free and it will help you to get started with all of this. Another major benefit of selling on a Shopify site over Etsy is the fact that you can basically sell whatever you want. What I mean by that is if you're creating an Etsy shop or even just any marketplace, what you're doing is you're creating products that fit into trending searches. Meaning, if you're creating products for products that no one is searching for, there's a good chance you're not going to be successful on those platforms. Which means if you're not selling t-shirts or mugs or stickers or journals and notebooks and things like that, you might not get that much traction on a Etsy place or a marketplace. On Shopify, you could create a store selling whatever product you want. At this point, there are tons of amazing print-on-demand products that exist. I've made videos here on my channel showing you tons of really awesome things that are likely pretty low in the Etsy search volume, which means if you wanted to take advantage of those types of products, what you would want to do is build your own site on a place like Shopify and then use social media to show those products to people. I'm talking about things like print-on-demand shoes or cutting boards or flags for the wall or hooded blankets or print-on-demand leggings, print-on-demand cloaks, car seat covers for the car. Literally, the list goes on and on and on. There are so many amazing print-on-demand products out there, and you could truly build something awesome, even in some really popular niches that some people would consider to be saturated. That's because you're doing something a little bit different. You're not just selling the typical t-shirt or the typical mug. You're creating a really unique shop online that members of your niche will flock to. That has been my experience with my own stores. At this point, I've also worked with tons of other people to help them to build their stores as well. And I would say the biggest key to our success is the fact that we have been able to sell to really awesome niches, but we're doing it in a little bit of a different way because of the products we are selling them. All of this together leads me to the conclusion that selling on a print-on-demand store in 2024 is going to be the best if you choose to build your own space. I recommend Shopify. If you wanted to use any other store builder out there, that would be fine. I'm basically just recommending against using a platform like Etsy or Amazon or Redbubble or Cafe Pressed or Zazzle or anything like that. Basically, I'm recommending against any sort of a marketplace where you are just uploading designs to a website with millions of other people. What I'm recommending you to do instead is to build your own space, to use the power of social media to make your sales and grow yourself a brand. That, to me, in the year 2024 is going to be the best long-term strategy for print-on-demand success. That's what I make videos about here on my channel, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so that way you can see more. At the beginning of this video, I talked a lot about the current situation with Etsy and print-on-demand sellers on a few different print-on-demand suppliers. Like I said earlier, I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't really know any of the specifics yet. No one really does about why they are removing certain accounts. We will just have to wait and see. So there's a chance that as you're watching this video, some of it might be cleared up. It could even just be an issue of an algorithm making mistakes and deactivating shops by accident. We shall see is basically what I am saying. So hopefully this video was helpful as you're trying to decide how you want to build your print-on-demand store. Let me know down in the comments below which option you are choosing, whether you are going to be building your own site or selling on some sort of a marketplace like Etsy or Amazon or something like that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.